Greetings shipmates and welcome to another episode of Let's Make Mistakes. Today we're going to be looking at a replay sent in by Penkuu, who has recently joined the Mistakes Were Made clan driving the Asashio B. There's quite a lot to cover in this video. It's quite an interesting game, quite a unique style, but what he does do is play very well to the strengths of the ship. Just to get the elephant out of the room quickly, you will notice that my logo is covering up the chat. Now the reason my logo is covering up the chat is because there's a battleship that's very, very upset in this game about being torpedoed by this Asashio. So there's a small spoiler there. However, I didn't want it to detract from the rest of the game, and in the interests of fair play and parity, I have decided to remove the chat. It doesn't detract too much from the game, but I'll give you a rough overview of what was going on, minus the rather rude words that were being thrown away. Anyway, so let's get straight into it. Penkuu taking his Asashio into B. There's no CV in the game, so it does afford the opportunity to actually get straight into the objective immediately. Not that you shouldn't go for the objective immediately with a CV in the game. You just need to be a little bit more careful about how you do it. Now, the Asashio has superb surface detectability. She can go down to 5.4 kilometers, so there's not really anything that can outspot her. However, if we have a quick look across the makeup of the enemy team, there is a Cossack there, and I believe his surface detection is 5.5, so it can be quite close. Now we can see he's managed to get himself into the Bravadoh cap. The cap is contested, torpedoes aren't quite up yet, but on the horizon are some battleships. And one of the things this does excel at is spitting out torpedoes towards battleships and making a rather large mess of them. Now they are stealth torpedoes and they can only hit battleships and CVs, so the Asashio, you kind of, when they're loaded at this kind of range and distance, you can just fire and forget and then wait for the reload. Now he's been a little bit indiscriminate with the torpedoes there, which is generally the sensible way to play with them to begin with. Fire them out, see what happens, but don't use that booster just yet because they are quite a long way away, and there's no point in firing again yet. You might want that a little bit later on in the game. Now we can see some torpedoes just went past us there, so that's going to give us a rough indication of what could possibly be in the cat with us. Let's have a little look there. So it could be a number one of 4 destroyers there. Now I think I only saw 1 or 2, so possibly the Cossack, maybe the Ugamo. And we have managed to spot the Ugamo nice and early. Now you'll notice here that he's gone for smoke, but Penkuu hasn't gone for smoke, because in doing so, of course, he's now concealed himself from Penkuu as well. So he doesn't need to do anything to cover himself just yet, other than hang tight, but be very, very aware that there's 2 destroyers in front of him that are very, very capable of torpedoing him. Well, we pop across and have a quick look at where our nice long-range torpedoes are and what chances they've got of actually hitting those ships up there. They're quite quick torpedoes at 67 knots. So they don't really afford much opportunity to get out of the way, and as we can see there, the York got hit, and we've also managed to claim first buff. Now, since the buff, Japanese destroyer guns are particularly good. Now you'll still notice that he's not smoked yet, and he's manoeuvring across the cap with the Cossack. Now I'm going to assume here that he was reversing back to use that smoke cloud left by the Ugamo to disappear, but rather fortunately the Cossack is also smoked up as well, so that helps. We can see he's still detected from the icon at the top that's counting down. That's one of my add-ons that I haven't turned off yet. And now you'll notice what he's also just done there is fire the torpedoes in the direction of our Fletcher. Now generally that would be a 5-alarm fire, but the Fletcher's probably aware that they're not going to hit him because they're Asashio, and Penkuu is clearly aware that his torpedoes are not going to hit that destroyer or cause him any damage either. So you can fire through your teammates as long as they're not in a battleship. They won't appreciate that. As another great streamer says, remember, once it leaves the tube it is no longer a friendly torpedo. So the Fletcher's pushing up towards the Cossack. Penkuu's engaging using the smoke and maintaining his maximum gun distance as well, which is about 10.9 kilometers. So those ships out in front can't see him because the smoke cloud is covering him, but there is a little gap there which has just got Penkuu spotted, and unfortunately the Fletcher's also gone down as well. Now you'll notice he's still not used a smoke yet. He's also not used an engine boost or a torpedo reload just yet, because there's no need to. He's managed to take the cap with the assistance of his team behind him firing on these destroyers in front, but he's not had to move away. in any way, shape or form, will use the consumables, which is brilliant because they can come in useful much later. Now the scores on the doors do show, besides the lack of ship and the fact that Charlie is currently being taken, that they are actually now moving into the lead. And for an Asashio, this is a very target-rich environment now. There's all 4 of their 5 battleships are right in front of him. They're all hanging around this Bravadoh cap. The Mayhem, we're pretty sure, is probably still in the island around the other side, unless the Cossacks turn around and come back in, but that would be foolhardy. So, some more indiscriminate torpedoes are being sent out on their long 20-kilometre journey to see if they can pick up any passengers on the way. Spoiler alert, they're absolutely going to. And he's just going to hang around for a little while, because if he leaves this cap now, without finding that Mayhem, they're going to lose the cap. And yeah, they've got 2 to 1, but there's no need for him to go anywhere. He's not detected at the moment. The Mayhem's probably still hiding around that corner in that island group. So let's just wait around and see what happens for a little while. So the reload booster's now gone. Now we'll call this an element of luck. He was reversing back a little bit, then went forwards, realised there was a torp, and went backwards again. Now there's only 4 of them there, so they're Cossack torps. And as we can just see, the Shiratsuyu's gone down as well. That's 1 more destroyer less. The North Carolina's just swallowed one of the torpedoes. And good news is we're following these other ones in as well. It looks like the Key, he's a goner as well. And there's our first kill of the match, and that's our 4th torpedo hit, quickly followed up by our 5th, which has just hit the North Carolina as well. And he's still holding control of this cap. The Cossack, probably hanging around in that smoke cloud in front of us, is moving away. The Neptune off to the right is. Now, this is where chat starts to get a little bit interesting, and that is why the banner's here. One of the battleships, who I'm not going to name, has expressed his displeasure at being torpedoed by the boat that was paid to win. If he'd been and checked, he'd realise the boat isn't paid to win, because you can't buy the black ships. The black ships were awarded some time ago. So he didn't pay anything for this boat. It's free. And even if you did, that doesn't mean that you're going to win games in them. Asashio's a very, very difficult destroyer to play. Played really well, it's a really good boat, but it can be quite difficult because of the inability to hit cruisers and destroyers. But this battleship is not particularly happy about it, and he's continuing in chat at the moment, maybe explaining to Penkuu that perhaps he doesn't need to exist anymore and he should somehow remove himself from the game, and other things that he'd wish upon him as well, which is not what you're supposed to play the game for. It's just a game. It's just ships. All we're doing is destroying pixels here. But suffice to say, the rest of the teams on both sides aren't particularly happy about what's going on. He has been reported, and I'm sure that will be dealt with accordingly. So we'll get back onto the game instead. This is a healthy lead now. You see the Monarch's just taking care of the Carolina. Penkuu's up to 115,000 damage. We also didn't actually say too much, but Zalima is over in the Leon over at Alpha at the moment, because all the action's really centred around what Penkuu's doing. He's doing a pretty strong push on Alpha as well. So they are in division together. And off we go. Now that Mayhem has finally been picked up by the Seattle's radar. So Penkuu's now going to push forwards. There goes another one of the enemy battleships. And now he's going to push himself into position to maybe look where the Tirpitz has gone around there, because now his torpedo opportunities are now diminished. The only thing he can actually torpedo anymore is the Tirpitz. So this is going to be reliance on stealth, probably smoke, and using the main battery again as well. As we said, the main battery of the Asashio isn't too bad actually. With only 127mm guns, there's only 3 pairs on board, and they're not particularly quick on the reload either, around 8.5 seconds depending on how you spec the ship. However, they are Japanese and they do hit a lot harder since they were buffed a couple of versions ago, so they are very, very viable. One of the problems is you have to plan a little bit more in advance about how you're going to use them, because the turret traverse is extremely slow. It's like 26 seconds to actually do a 180-degree turn. So he's going to have to keep this Chapayev off his left-hand side. I mean, this is risky, because he's a Chapayev and he's 6 kilometres away, and if he pops that radar now, Penkuu's gone. But he loads up the AP anyway, decides to go for it, gets a nice big chunk on the side of that Chapayev, releases a second volley in the Chapayev, and manages to secure the kill as well. That's one problem eliminated. And now there's a Seattle coming towards, and you can see as he turns the boat now how long it's going to take for these guns to traverse all the way around. But the Cossack and the Neptune are behind. Now we can be pretty sure that the Cossack's not a threat at this exact moment in time because he's in Charlie. So he's out of range, judging by the perimeters there. He's certainly over 10 kilometres away from Penkuu, because we can see from the mini-map that the gun range touches the edge there, and he fired and isn't detected by him. And we can also see that the Neptune's 10 kilometres away. And up there you can see now, impossible to hit target. So that's just saying, letting Penkuu know, in case he didn't already, and I'm sure he does, that he can't hit that target with torpedoes. However, you'll notice he did just attempt to lock on, and you do get like that ghosted reticle, and he has fired his torpedoes at the Seattle. Now why has he done this? Because they're clearly not going to hit. Well, if you're that Seattle over there, they are deep water torpedoes. Now I'm taking a guess here, I haven't asked Penkuu, he may correct me if I'm wrong here, but because there's a Gajah in the game as well, I'm going to assume he fired them at the Seattle because the Seattle may have thought they come from the Gajah maybe. They were released on the other side of that island, and those ones definitely can hit him. So he took a gamble on maybe making that Seattle turn and give broadside to the other Seattle. Now, the only problem we have here is, of course, is this Seattle is just taking care of the other one that did a drive-by on broadside and died, is that we're 3.5 kilometres away. We do have pretty decent guns. He has radar. We're in smoke. I think we can guess what's going to happen next. Yes, we're going to get radared. And now it's a case of just running as fast as you can. Now, fortunately, the Asashio has 2 guns on the back, and unfortunately as well, he has the King George, who was only 3 kilometres away. And rightly so, Penkuu has expressed his great delight with his fellow teammate there that he's managed to take that problem away from him, and has saved his life in the process. As we can see from the scores, there's only 1 minute 20 of the game left, so this game's all but done and dusted. That Tirpitz over there is the only target that's really available to Penkuu. The Alpha Cap and the Bravo are secured already. So he's just going to keep working his way over there and see if he can probably farm a little bit more damage for the end of this game. But I don't think he's going to. And then we're going to be very, very quickly down to the last few seconds, and then we're going to have a look at the scoreboards. And we'll say he's played this pretty well, because it's a difficult DD to play the Asashio, but played properly and played correctly, it's a good fun boat. And there goes the Tirpitz, and in a few seconds that's going to tick over, and then we'll have a quick look at the score sheets. Well played, Penkuu. Well played. And that's not too bad, is it? 1.1 million credits, 9,700 XP and 2,003 XP as well for 124,000 damage. Now that'll probably be because he obviously captured, that's a solo capture there, and those torpedo hits, 3 ships destroyed. So good potential earning with the Asashio as well, if played correctly. But you do need to position her very carefully and be mindful of your surroundings. As we could see from that game, Penkuu had to deal with a number of destroyers, used the speed and the position of the boat well, and the other DD's smoke to protect himself as well during fire without having to use his own. So that was a pretty solid game, using the strengths of the Asashio, specifically that low detection range, very, very well. And we can also see from the final score sheet that 2,300 base XP is 1,000 base XP higher than his next nearest teammate. So that's a very, very solid game. And very well done to Penkuu. And thank you very much for sending the replay in to me. If you've enjoyed this, I'm going to continue to do some more of these. So if you wish to join the Discord channel, you can find that through Twitch or through my YouTube channels. Send across the replay along with the screenshots, and I'll have a look, and then we can maybe feature some more of these going forwards. So until the next time, if you could like, subscribe and comment on the video below, that would be fantastic and greatly appreciated. Thank you once again, Penkuu, for sending in this replay to us. Until we sync again, Bravadoh out.